Yo, what is up, everybody? It's JT Sports, and I'm back to you guys with another episode of JT Sports Live. On this episode of JT Sports Live, we're going to be previewing and breaking down some of the Thanksgiving matchups that's going to be taking place on Thanksgiving. And we have some pretty good ones. So we have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens in a rematch. We have the Houston Texans going on the road to face the Detroit Lions. And we have Washington taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So before I get into it, if you haven't already, make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. I upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. Also, if you didn't know already, every video that is uploaded on the YouTube channel is available on audio platforms if you guys like to listen to podcasts. So every video that's uploaded on the channel is available on every single podcast platform: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Wherever you go ahead and get your podcast from, go ahead and type in the JT Sports Podcast, or you can click the link down in the description down below to check out the JT Sports Podcast as well. So, without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's start off with the Houston Texans taking on the Detroit Lions. So, the Texans are heading into this game 3-7, coming off a win against the New England Patriots, which they won that game 27-20. And the Detroit Lions are 4-6, losing to the Carolina Panthers 20-0 to a backup quarterback. So for the Detroit Lions, I think that the Detroit Lions hit the lowest point that they will ever reach this season in their loss to Carolina. They lost 20-0 to a backup quarterback named P.J. Walker. Now, for those of you guys who don't know who P.J. Walker is, P.J. Walker played in the XFL. He was a superstar in the XFL for the Houston Roughnecks, and he had a really good game against the Detroit Lions. He was 24-34 passing for 258 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, which he only threw 1 interception because the other interception wasn't really his fault. And the Detroit Lions didn't put up any points against the Carolina Panthers, a defense that isn't really known for being all that great. And what's even more disturbing is the fact that the Detroit Lions allowed 4 sacks against the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback. And the Detroit Lions allowed 4 sacks. So the Detroit Lions last week, in their loss to the Carolina Panthers, hit the lowest point that they may reach this season. Okay? And you're looking at Matt Patricia. This is a must-win game for Detroit without a doubt. Because Detroit, believe it or not, is still in the playoff picture. They still have a chance to make it to the playoffs if they're able to win out and they somehow go 10-6 or 9-7. So I'm looking at Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia, how are you going to respond coming off what has to be one of the most embarrassing losses of your whole entire career since you have taken over as the head coach for the Detroit Lions? Now, for the Carolina Panthers, they dominated the Detroit Lions in time possession last week. They held the ball for 36 minutes and 48 seconds, and Detroit only held the ball for 23 minutes and 12 seconds. And you're looking at a Houston Texans team that isn't great defensively. Okay, they struggle stopping the run, and they struggle against the pass. But what is encouraging, that if you are Houston Texans fans, the fact that you held the New England Patriots to 86 rushing yards as a team last week, which has to be really encouraging because the Houston Texans have struggled to stop the run all this season. They have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and they only held the New England Patriots to 86 rushing yards, which the Patriots have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. But what is discouraging is the fact that Houston got shredded by Cam Newton through the passing game. And the Patriots aren't really the greatest team in the world when it comes to being able to throw the football when you look at how poor their wide receiver position has been this year. So for me, my biggest question heading into this game is going to be, which team's defense is going to show up in this game? Are the Lions going to have a defense in this game? Are the Texans going to have a defense in this game? I don't really know. But one thing that the Texans do have is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was phenomenal last week against the New England Patriots. He was the reason why the Texans were able to win that game. And for the Detroit Lions, if you're Matt Patricia, being a defensive-minded coach, how are you going to game plan to stop Deshaun Watson? Because Deshaun Watson is the only good thing that Houston Texans have going for them right now. They don't have a good offensive line. They can't run the football. So if you can't stop Deshaun Watson, how are the Detroit Lions going to plan on winning this game? Now, if you are a Lions fan, you're hoping that Kenny Galladay is able to play in this game because Kenny Galladay pretty much is the focal point of this Detroit Lions offense. This Detroit Lions offense looks completely different when he's on the field and when he's off the field. When he's on the field, this was like a top 10 offense. When he's off the field, this offense looks like a bottom top 15 offense when he's off the field. So if you're Detroit and you are a Lions fan, you're hoping that Kenny Galladay some way, somehow is going to be able to play in this game. Now, for Matt Patricia, the hot seat is heating up. This is the most important game that Matt Patricia has ever coached in his whole entire career as a head coach for the Detroit Lions. Because for the Lions, if they lose this game, they drop to 4-7. And although they won't be mathematically eliminated from the playoff picture, this pretty much is the focal point of their season. Because they lose this game, then I think they have no shot at making it to the playoffs. And that hot seat not only is heating up for Matt Patricia, but it's also heating up for general manager Bob Quinn. So this is a big game. Maybe the biggest game of Matt Patricia's career in Detroit. Because if the Texans beat the Detroit Lions, then I think that Matt Patricia has pretty much sealed his fate, if he hasn't sealed his fate already, in terms of his coaching career in Detroit. Now for Houston, my question is going to be this secondary. Because although Detroit struggled last week against the Carolina Panthers led by backup quarterback P.J. Walker, Houston's secondary isn't great. And Detroit's secondary isn't great. But I think Detroit's secondary is a tad bit better than Houston's. All right? Now, for Houston, you're facing Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford still is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, regardless of what a lot of you guys watching may think. I think Matthew Stafford is still pretty serviceable. Now, Matthew Stafford has been up and down this year, but if Kenny Galladay plays, then this Detroit Lions offense is going to be rolling at full throttle. Now, for Houston, I think the biggest thing is going to be being able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford with J.J. Watt and also being able to get off the field on third down. Because like I mentioned earlier, when you have a defense that isn't good, like Houston, you have to be good situationally. So if you're Houston, you have to be able to be good inside the red zone. You have to be good on getting off the field on third down. And if Houston can do both of those two things, then I think they're going to be in pretty good shape in terms of trying to win this football game. Now for Detroit, you need to make sure that you're able to limit the big plays in the passing game from Houston, because Houston has did a lot of damage this season in terms of having big chunk plays with guys like Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, and Will Fuller. So I'm looking at this Detroit Lions secondary. Are they going to be able to keep up with the task of handling this wide receiving core of the Houston Texans? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. So the team I'm going to take to win this game, I'm taking the Texans to get the victory. The reason why I'm going to take the Texans to get this win is, first of all, they are a 3-point favorite to win this game. So I like them to not only win this game outright, but I like them to cover. Second of all, I don't trust Detroit's defense. I don't trust Houston's defense neither, but I think that Houston's defense may be able to get one stop compared to Detroit's defense. And plus, the Houston Texans have Deshaun Watson. So if you're a Detroit Lions fan, I know this may upset you, but I got to take the Houston Texans to win. I just do not see any way that the Detroit Lions win this game with the way that they performed against the Carolina Panthers last week. I mean, you got torched by a backup quarterback. And I love me some P.J. Walker, but let's be honest. If you're Matt Patricia, that has to be one of the most embarrassing losses that you ever suffered as head coach for the Detroit Lions. You're supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and you get shredded and carved up by a backup quarterback. I really can't believe that. And I was talking to a Lions fan the other day about how he felt about that loss. He felt the same way I felt. That was embarrassing. And Detroit couldn't run the football. You gave up 5 sacks. I just don't really see how the Houston Texans lose this game. If the Houston Texans find a way to lose this game, then I think Romeo Crennel should have no business being the head coach of the future for the Houston Texans. So I'm taking the Texans to win outright. I think the Texans win this game 31-24 is my final score prediction in this game. So, next game we have on the docket, we have the Washington football team taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is a really big game, believe it or not. you may be like, JT, how's this a big game when both of these two teams are 3-7? Well, 2020, ladies and gentlemen, the NFC East, or what a lot of people are calling it, the NFL East, is the worst division in the NFL. This may be the worst division play that we've seen in NFL history. So Washington defeated the Cincinnati Bengals last week 20-9, and the Dallas Cowboys got a late second victory against the Minnesota Vikings 31-28. Now, when you look at Dallas, they're 3-7. Andy Dalton has came back. He's fully healthy. Last week, his first game back ever since he suffered that concussion a couple of weeks ago, ironically against Washington. He was 22 of 32 for 203 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception in his first game back ever since he suffered that concussion against Washington. So you look at Washington and you look at Dallas. Both of these two teams right now, whoever wins this game is going to be in the driver's seat of this division, because Philadelphia currently is 3-6-1, and Philadelphia is trending downwards. So if Washington or Dallas wins this game, they're going to be in 4-7, and they're going to be in a good position to win this division. Now, my biggest question for Dallas is going to be, are the Dallas Cowboys going to be able to take care of the football and limit penalties? Because we know who the most talented team is heading into this game. We know that the Dallas Cowboys have a better roster talent-wise than Washington. But Dallas has shot themselves in the foot in every single game that they play. They turn the football over. They have a lot of penalties. And they're not really well coached. So for Dallas, a good way to lose a game is by turning the football over and have a lot of penalties. That is the best way for a team to pull off the upset. So I'm looking at Washington, and you look at Alex Smith. Alex Smith and Terry McLaurin could have a field day against this Dallas Cowboys secondary. Okay, Dallas secondary has not been good. And when you look at Washington, Washington has a better secondary than Dallas, but they can't stop the run. Washington may have one of the worst linebacker units in the NFL heading into this game. So you're looking at Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big game. And a lot of Dallas struggles has been on Ezekiel Elliott. You see, when your best player is turning the football over, you can't expect to win a lot of games. So Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big game if Dallas wants to win this game. Now, here is the biggest matchup that I'm looking forward to watching. The offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys taking on the defensive line of Washington. Okay? Because a lot of you guys have to understand that even though Washington's secondary isn't all that great, their defensive line is really good. Okay? And Dallas isn't well coached. Okay? You can't use the excuse saying that they have a new head coach, no offseason, no preseason, no training camp, because Cleveland has a new head coach. And right now, Cleveland is right now in second place in the AFC North, and they have a winning record. Okay, there are plenty of other teams who have first-year head coaches who are doing a lot better than the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, so there also have been several players this season who have came out and spoken out against Mike McCarthy. So for people and Dallas Cowboy fans who come on here and say that the Dallas Cowboys need to get all these passes, it's really no excuse. Okay? Just because you have a first-year head coach doesn't justify you being 3-7, because you have one of the best rosters in the NFL. So I'm looking at Dallas going into this game, and I'm looking at Washington going into this game. Which team has momentum going into this game? I think that's pretty evenly matched. Okay, you have Dallas, who is riding high off a big win against Minnesota. A Minnesota team who a lot of people were considering the hottest team in the NFL for some reason, even though they won 2 games against teams that aren't really good. Well, they beat Green Bay. But, I mean, I don't really understand how people were calling the Minnesota Vikings the hottest team in the NFL. So, you beat Minnesota in late game heroic fashion. Dramatic fashion, if you want to call that, with a last-second touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. And you got Washington, who destroyed the Cincinnati Bengals without Joe Burrow. So there are room to be concerned for both of these two teams. I don't really know if Dallas is going to be able to get off the field against Washington's offense. Now, I know Washington hasn't been the best team offensively, but when you look at the way that Dallas defense has played this season, they can make a below-average offense look like one of the best offenses in the NFL. Now, I think that Washington's offensive line can be a big issue in this game. Is Dallas going to be able to get pressure on Alex Smith? Because this Washington football team offensive line isn't great. But it has improved over the last couple of weeks because you have Alex Smith at quarterback, and Alex Smith gets the ball out fast and he gets the ball out quickly. He also makes a lot of good decisions with the football. So if you're Dallas, if you're not able to get pressure on Alex Smith and you're not able to help your secondary out, then this could be a long game for you. Now, Washington has Ted McLaurin and Gibson. And those are two of their best players on offense. If Antonio Gibson is able to have a big game for Washington and they're able to keep Dallas offense off the field, then I think that Washington has a really good chance of winning this game. And also on top of that, you have a Washington defensive line that is top 10 in the NFL, top 5 at getting pressure on the quarterback. So I think that Washington has a better chance of winning this game than what a lot of people give them credit for. Like, yeah, you look at this game and you say that Dallas has the better team, but in terms of, how Washington has performed over the last couple of weeks, Washington's defensive line is going to be able to get pressure on Andy Dalton. And the only question with Washington defense is going to be, can they stop the run? Can they get off the field on third down? Now, like I said earlier, I look at Ezekiel Elliott, and Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a big game. Because if Washington can't get off the field and they can't stop the running game of Dallas, then they're also going to be at a disadvantage. So, for me, both of these two teams are kind of evenly matched, even though Dallas is the better team talent-wise. You look at Washington, and you look at how their season has went, both of these two teams has a chance to make it to the playoffs because of how bad this division has been, which is why this game is so big, why this game is so important, because there are a lot of people who may look at this game and they may be like, JT, why should I watch 2, 3, and 7 teams play? Well, I mean, if you're a fan of seeing two teams jockeying for a playoff positioning, then this is the game to watch. This is going to be a playoff game with a playoff atmosphere on the road in Dallas. And with this being a playoff game, the intensity is going to be there. So for Dallas, if they're able to take care of the football and limit penalties, then I think they are going to win this game. So if you're Washington, if you're able to force a couple of turnovers, you're able to get pressure on Andy Dalton, which you should be able to, because Dallas offensive line has been kind of up and down this season due to injuries. So for Dallas, you're looking at a very good defensive line. If you're able to protect Andy Dalton and you give Andy Dalton time to throw, then you can have success against the Washington defense. Because pretty much the only thing that Washington has going for them defensively is their defensive line. After the defensive line, the linebacker position is in question. The secondary is in question. So I look at Dallas. Okay, I think they have a really good chance to win this game. I'm going to take Dallas to get the victory. I think Dallas wins this game 31-17 is my final score prediction in this game. I don't really know if Washington's offense is going to be able to show up in this game, even though Dallas defense has been pretty bad. I think you look at Dallas defensive line and you look at how Dallas linebacker unit has been playing, even though Jalen Smith hasn't played all that well, you're looking at an offensive line that is one of the worst in the NFL. So I'm looking at Dallas. I think they have the advantage up front on both sides of the football. And I think that if they're able to take care of the football, limit penalties, and limit mistakes, that they should be able to win this game. So I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to win this one. So before I move on to the next one, the last game that we have to talk about, the Ravens and the Steelers. I want to tell you guys that if you haven't already, make sure that you like the video, like the live stream, and subscribe for more NFL videos and content. Also, make sure that you guys follow me on all my social media platforms. My Instagram and my Twitter is both JTSports_ for you guys to go ahead and check that out. Sometimes I do live game tweets where I will tweet live during the game, but mostly I use social media to interact with you guys, my fans, and my subscribers. So if you guys want to get in contact with me, make sure that you guys follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Also, make sure that you join my group chat on Flick. You guys can go ahead. It is the pinned comment for those of you guys watching this live. You guys can go ahead, click that link, and you guys should be able to join my group chat on Flick, which is also another good way to get a hold of me as well. So the last game we have to talk about, This is the game of the week that everybody's been anticipating and talking about. The 10-0 Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the 6-4 Baltimore Ravens. So the last time these two teams matched up, the Steelers got the win. And you look at that game, okay? This may be an unpopular opinion, but the Ravens outplayed the Pittsburgh Steelers in their last game. The only reason why the Ravens lost that game against Pittsburgh was because they turned the football over 4 different times. And Lamar Jackson had his worst game as a pro. So last week, Baltimore lost to Tennessee 30-24 in overtime. And the Ravens have lost 2 games in a row. You lost to the New England Patriots a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football. And you lost to Tennessee. So for Baltimore, it seems like this is a game that you have to win. Now, this is not a must-win game, but this is a game that if you're Baltimore, you would like to win to get your season back on the right footing. Because right now, if you look at the current NFL playoff picture, the Baltimore Ravens are on the outside looking in. So if Baltimore loses another game, then they could be in a lot of trouble in terms of their playoff aspirations and their playoff hopes. Now, here are 2 big concerns I have about Baltimore going into this game. First, you don't have 2 of your best halfbacks on your team, J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, who are out, who are not going to be playing this game due to them contracting COVID-19. So they're going to be out. You're also going to be without defensive lineman Brandon Williams, so he's not going to play. So Baltimore is going to be without J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram. That means that Gus Edwards is going to be the guy who has to carry the load at halfback for Baltimore. And the run game is really important because last time Baltimore played Pittsburgh, they had 265 rushing yards on the Steelers defense. So if you're Baltimore, your best chance winning this game is by doing what you did last time, running the football. And if you're Greg Roman, the game plan isn't all that complicated. If you come out, you had success running the football early on Pittsburgh. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the only way Baltimore wins this game is by running the football with the success that they had last time. Because if you're Baltimore and you look at the struggles you have had this season when it comes to throwing the football, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you're asking Lamar Jackson to throw the ball 30, 40 times to beat Pittsburgh. Okay, because you look at the Baltimore Ravens offensive line that is banked up, they're injured, and you don't really have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. Okay, you have Marquise Brown, who has been one of the biggest disappointments this year, and you have Dez Bryant as your number 2 wide receiver. And this isn't a knock on Dez Bryant, but anytime you have a guy like Dez Bryant with his age and his production as your number 2 wide receiver, you're in trouble. And that's no knock on Dez Bryant. Like I said before, I love Dez Bryant. He's one of my favorite wide receivers of all time. But on a championship caliber football team, he is your number 3 wide receiver. Look at Larry Fitzgerald with the Arizona Cardinals, for example. He is the 3rd best wide receiver on Arizona. So if Baltimore has to win this game through the air, I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So what does Baltimore have to do to win this game? Well, the first thing they have to do is you have to make sure that you don't turn over the football and that you don't have any penalties. Last time they played, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, they played well in the first half, but in the second half, when the Steelers started to take shots deep, that's when a lot of problems lie because they had a lot of pass interference calls on them. So for Baltimore, if you're able to take care of the football and you're able to limit penalties, you have a really good chance winning this game. Now, for Baltimore, the biggest concern is going to be, is Baltimore going to be able to win this game if this ends up being a close game that we expect it to be? Because in these rivalry games, these games normally come down to where I haven't remembered the last time watching the Steelers and the Ravens play a game that didn't come close to being a one-possession game or that was a blowout. So for Baltimore, you have struggled to win one-possession games, okay? You struggled to beat New England, which was a one-possession game. You struggled to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers the first go-around, which also was a one-possession game. And you struggled to beat Tennessee, which also was a one-possession game. So if this game ends up coming down to the wire, is Baltimore going to be able to get it done? And you have to look at head coach John Harbaugh, and you got to look at Greg Roman. What the heck is Greg Roman doing? Because his play calling has been really questionable this year. It seems like when Baltimore had success running the football, he says, you know what, we're going to stop running the football. We're just going to try to throw the football. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So Greg Roman is going to have to be able to come out with a great game plan and be able to outcoach Mike Tomlin and this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Because, let's be honest, Pittsburgh is not going to lose the same way they lost to the Baltimore Ravens last year. And they're not going to allow Baltimore to come out here and run the football for over 265 rushing yards. I think Pittsburgh's game plan heading into this game is going to be stacking the box with 8-9 guys, and they're just going to go all in on stopping the run game, and they're going to force Baltimore and force Lamar Jackson to beat them by throwing the football. And for Lamar Jackson, this may be one of the biggest games, one of the most important games that he's ever played in his NFL career, because I don't care about what he's done in the playoffs. I don't care about the playoffs. Listen, if you're Baltimore, you are in playoff mode right now. The playoffs start this week, this Thanksgiving night against Pittsburgh. Because if Baltimore loses this game, then their playoff aspirations just take a giant leap. Now, you can lose this game and still have a chance of making it to the playoffs, because at worst you go 10-6 or 11-5. But I mean, this is a must-win. Well, not a must-win game, but a game that if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, you want to win. Now, can the Steelers stop the run? Ever since Pittsburgh faced the Baltimore Ravens and the Baltimore Ravens gassing for 265 rushing yards, the Steelers have not been able to stop the run. Now, Tyson Alualu has missed a couple of games. Hopefully, he comes into this game fully healthy. I think he's going to be a big part of this Steelers run defense, trying to slow down this rushing attack of Baltimore, because the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the NFL when it comes to running the football. So for Pittsburgh, you look at the team and the defense that has struggled to stop the run over the last couple of weeks. That worries me. I have a lot of concerns about this Pittsburgh Steelers run defense. And against Jacksonville Jaguars, you also struggle to stop the run as well at times. And I know a lot of people may look at the stat sheet, they may be like, well, JT, James Robinson only has 73 rushing yards. That's because the Jacksonville Jaguars were down so much that the only way they could get back into the game was throwing the football. So if Baltimore is able to come out here and run the football the way they did last time, the Steelers are going to be in a lot of trouble. Because if you can't stop this rushing attack for Baltimore, they can just chew clock, keep Big Ben off the field, and control time possession, which is really big. So for the Steelers, I want to see how the Steelers are going to game plan to stop this rushing attack of Baltimore, because whatever they did last time, it did not work. Now, the Steelers also have to be a lot better on third down this game than what they were last time, because last time they played Baltimore, they were 3-9 on third down, and the Steelers have one of the best third down offenses in the NFL. So the fact that they went 3-9 on third down is really concerning. Because if the Steelers have another poor performance on third down, then that's going to help out Baltimore, because then they're also going to be able to get the ball back to their offense, and they're going to be able to get the run game going if they're able to do so. So for the Steelers, my biggest thing is that the Steelers are 10-0 right now. And you have to lose a game eventually. I don't think the Steelers are going to go 16-0. And this is coming from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I would like the Steelers to go 16-0, but you have to think that they have to lose eventually. And two of your biggest games left are Buffalo and the Ravens. So if you're Pittsburgh, is this finally going to be the game that you finally end up losing? I don't know. Because you look at the Baltimore Ravens team that right now is reeling right now. Baltimore is looking for answers. For Baltimore right now, they're on the ropes right now. It's like when you play UFC and you have your opponent groggy, you know, when you get like a big hit and the screen gets all foggy and things like that, and your opponent is, you know, shaking and he's stumbling and all that. The Steelers could be the team to deliver that knockout blow to Baltimore. And if Baltimore loses this game, like I said, Baltimore can lose this game and still make it to the playoffs. But I feel like this is a season-defining game for Baltimore. Because if they win this game, then they could get their season right back in the right direction. And we've seen Baltimore in the past win big games like against Pittsburgh at this time of the season, win a big game, and get back into the playoffs and do some damage. So for Baltimore, if they lose this game, man, I just think that there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to have to be asked if Baltimore isn't able to beat Pittsburgh. And Baltimore has a really good team. Like, there were a lot of people saying that the Ravens are not a playoff caliber football team. I do not believe that. The Ravens have a playoff caliber roster. Even without J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram and without a couple of key guys, this is still one of the best rosters in the AFC. So Baltimore has the talent to win this game. And when you look at this game, you have to throw all the records and all the accolades aside. Going into this game, this rivalry game, it doesn't matter that Pittsburgh is 10-0. It doesn't matter that Baltimore has lost 2 games in a row. What matters is what's going to happen on the field. Who is going to win this game? So for a lot of people coming out here saying that all this extra stuff, that Steelers being 10-0 and the Ravens being 6-4 on the 2-game losing streak, None of that matters. What matters is who is going to be the best team to win this game. And I think the team that wins this game is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm taking the Steelers to get the victory. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I thought that the Ravens were going to be able to win this game. Okay? But I look at Baltimore, and you have questions with the play calling. And I don't think that Pittsburgh is going to allow Baltimore to do what they did last time, running the ball for 265 rushing yards. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Mike Tomlin is going to be better prepared than what he was last time to stop this Baltimore Ravens offense. And I think the Steelers sweep the Ravens in their season series this year. And I think the Steelers win this one 28-20 is my final score prediction in this game. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers to get the victory. So this is it for this episode of JT Sports Live. Make sure if you guys haven't already that you guys like the live stream, you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also make sure to share this channel and this video with your friends, family, acquaintances, and follow me on social media. My Instagram is JTSports_. My Twitter is JTSports_. You can follow me on my social media platforms and link down in the description down below. And before I leave, make sure that you guys take care